What would you do if the monsters under the bed were real? That's exactly what our next creepy TikTok user tale is about. I have tried to record this video for 2 days. The first time that I tried to record it, my phone shut off. The second time that I tried to record it, my screen shattered. The third time that I tried to record it recorded it, and there was no sound. So I don't know what it is about the story, but something just doesn't want you to hear it, but I'm going to try one more time. The person who sent me this story does want to remain anonymous, so we're just going to call her Kim. Kim told me when she was about 16 years old, her and her family moved into a new home, and she said that immediately the first time that she visited this house, the vibes were just off. She said that she actually begged her mom to not make her move into this house, but she was only 16 years old, so that didn't really go very far. In a terrible turn of events for Kim, the room that she chose to live in actually turned out to be the worst in the house. She told me that she started to experience things shortly after moving in, but they were pretty low key. She told me that some of her things would go missing and they would just turn up in really odd places. From there, it escalated to things flying off the shelf in her room. She told me that she doesn't know how to explain it, but somehow she just knew that whatever was making these things happen lived under her bed. And even though she was 16 years old, she was terrified of underneath her bed. She said that the vibe that she got from this thing that was living under her bed was like it knew that she knew that it was there and it wanted her to know. She told me that one night she was laying in her bed and she was asleep and her hands were on top of the covers. And she said she woke up because she could feel her covers moving almost like they were slowly being pulled off of her. She told me that when she wakes up, she lays there for a second in this state of in between awake and asleep, but she can still feel her covers moving. And once she realizes that her covers are moving, she grabs them with her hands. Once this thing realizes that she's awake and aware, it starts tugging on her blankets, trying to rip them off of her. Luckily, she has a good grip on them and it's not able to get the covers off, but she stays up for the rest of the night. Unfortunately, this is not the last thing that happened to Kim, and it gets much worse. She told me that there was one night when she simply just could not sleep, and she said that it was about 3 o'clock in the morning. In her room, she had a pet gerbil. The gerbil would chew on the bars of the cages and just make this really annoying noise, so she decides that night that she's going to go downstairs and she's going to get the gerbil a carrot. She told me that as she's walking down the stairs, she feels like this thing is following behind her. As she's standing in the refrigerator getting the carrot, she feels like this thing is looking over her shoulder. As she heads back upstairs, she can feel this thing following her again. Kim told me that her biggest defense with this thing was to actually just completely ignore that it was there. She didn't want to give it any power by acknowledging it, and she didn't want it to attach itself to her if she did acknowledge it. So she goes back up to her room, she closes her bedroom door behind her, and she walks over to her gerbil to give him the carrot. As she's standing there feeding the carrot, she says that she feels something brush on her legs, and it feels like fur, but it is ice cold. This does get her attention, and she does acknowledge that it's happening, and she looks around the room. The only light in the room is a nightlight that she has, but she says she looks around and she sees nothing. Once again, she decides that she's going to ignore it because she doesn't want to give this thing any power over her emotions. After the gerbil is finished with her carrot, she says that she crawls back into bed, closes her eyes, and tries to fall asleep. Kim says that the next thing that happens to her, she can best describe as some sort of possession. Kim told me that she was laying there in bed and her eyes pop open and she's staring at her ceiling. At this point, she realizes that she has no control over her physical body or her emotions. She says without telling her body to do it, she sits straight up, she swings her feet over the bed and plants them on the floor. She said she was terrified of under her bed, so this is something that she would never do. But she says that as this is happening, she realizes it's not her telling her body to do it, and she actually feels no fear at all. As she's sitting there, Kim tells me that her body does something that she absolutely would have never told it to do, which was to bend down, lift up the bed skirt, and look under the bed. As Kim is lifting up the bed skirt and looking under the bed, she says that she makes eye contact with this evil creature. She says that staring back at her from underneath her bed are glowing yellow eyes. Kim still does not have any control over her body or emotions, so she's sitting there making eye contact with this thing, but she feels no fear at all. She says that they stare at each other for what feels like an eternity, but it was only a few seconds. As she's sitting there making eye contact with this thing, she says that it starts to growl, and it is this deep, guttural, evil growl. She said that the growl gave an idea of just how big and just how evil this creature actually was. Even though this thing is sitting there and it is growling at her, she still has absolutely no control over her body or her emotions. She feels no fear. After a few seconds, she says she feels like a tidal wave come over her where she's back in control of her body. As she's sitting there making eye contact with this thing and she comes back to herself, she feels intense fear. She told me that she sits up and launches herself off of that floor so fast that she actually launches herself into the wall behind her bed. She says that she is just laying in her bed screaming, and this wakes up her parents. Her mom and her dad both come rushing into her room trying to figure out what's going on. She tells them everything that had happened. Her dad looks under the bed and he says, "There's nothing there." Kim is absolutely adamant that this has happened, and her parents just brush it off and tell her that she was having a nightmare. Kim told me that her and her family do eventually move out of this house, but until then, that thing does torment her. However, once they move, it does not follow her anywhere that she goes. She told me that that particular night, that experience probably lasted a total of 10 minutes, but has impacted the rest of her life for the past 19 years. So when I take Kim's description of what she saw that night, this is what AI creates. I wasn't there. I can't say that this is exactly what Kim saw. This is just what AI creates when it's told what she saw. Kim told me that she has talked to her parents about this multiple times and they were never willing to admit that there was anything weird about this house. She said that in 19 years, only one time has her mom ever admitted, yeah, that place was a little weird. She told me she has told multiple people this story and no one ever believes her. She asked me if I would share her story so that she could see if anyone else has seen anything like this and what exactly it could have been. She told me that her interpretation of it was that it was a demon. But she's hopeful that by sharing her story, maybe she can get some answers or find somebody else who has seen something similar. She does want to remain anonymous, so if you do comment, she probably will not respond. But if you have any idea what she saw that night, please drop it in the comments below because like I said, she said that this has affected her for the past 19 years. As always, thank you guys so much for listening. If you would like to send me a story, you're welcome to send me a DM or there is an email in my bio. Please send them. I love reading them. And as always, thank you so much and have a great day. I hope that this time the recording worked.